law ever become a reality in America? Some fear any nuclear, biological, or chemical attack on U.S. territory might trigger just that. And as KSLA News 12's Jeff Farrell discovered, the clergy would help the government with potentially their biggest problem, us.
From my cold, dead hands.
Charlton Heston's famous declaration captures a truly American value, the overarching desire to protect our freedoms. But gun confiscation is exactly what happened during the state of emergency following Hurricane Katrina in New Orleans. U.S. troops also arrived, something far easier to do even now thanks to last year's elimination of the 1878 Posse Comitatus Act. That forbid U.S. troops from policing on American soil. If martial law were enacted here at home, like depicted in the movie The Siege, easing public fears and quelling dissent would be critical. And that's exactly what the Clergy Response Team, as it's called, helped accomplish in New Orleans.
Jeff, the primary thing that we say to anybody is let's cooperate and get this thing over with, and then we'll settle the differences once the crisis is over.
Such clergy response teams would walk a tightrope between the needs of the government versus the wishes of the public.
In a lot of cases, these clergy would already be known in the neighborhoods in which they're helping to defuse that situation.
For the clergy, one of the biggest tools that they will have in helping calm the public down or obey the law is the Bible itself, specifically Romans 13.
Because the government is established by the Lord, and that's what we believe in the Christian faith. That's what's stated in the Scripture.
Civil rights advocates believe the amount of public cooperation may depend largely on how long they expect a suspension of their rights might last. Jeff Farrell, KSLA News 12 reporting.
And according to Tuberville, during Hurricane Katrina, the clergy response team provided 38 chaplains a day around the clock at 8 different camps.
The right to bear arms is protected in the Constitution, but some gun owners say they fear that it's under attack by President Obama. Background checks for gun applications have jumped since the November election. You can see how the numbers have soared compared to the same time span a year before. The president's push to ban certain weapons is fueling an explosion in firearms purchases, and it's also led to stockpiling. With tonight's Uncovering America report, here's Sean Kalins.
This is Tyler, Texas, one of those places all over America where a kind of quiet call to arms is getting louder and louder. Just ask attorney Sean Healy and Jimmy Moore, who's a nurse.
Who thinks President Obama wants gun control, wants to restrict the kinds of guns you can get?
If you look at what he said in the past and look at his actions, that if he and the people in control of Congress right now could have what they want, they would heavily restrict or eliminate guns from this country.
He voted for a 500% increase in the tax on guns and ammunition, doubling basically the cost of my hobby and my passion.
So here in Tyler and other parts of the country, there's been a run on ammunition. One man ran into a Walmart and said, "Sell me all the ammo you have." Guns, they're also flying off shelves. Those highly prized semi-automatic rifles are becoming more and more expensive.
So this is $2,200. Why is it so expensive?
Well, right now, they're just about impossible to find. It's hard to get. Everybody kind of got scared. The market got depleted.
A run on guns because of President Barack Obama. But since he has been president, he has said, quoting here, "I will not take away your guns." It couldn't be more clear. But listen to his Secretary of State. She sounds as though she has a different message. This is what she said in Mexico when asked why the administration isn't fighting the sale of assault weapons.
I'm not going to, sugarcoat it. It's a very heavy lift. I think that's a mistake. I think these assault weapons, these military-style weapons, don't belong on anyone's street.
It is her intent to see gun legislation pass.
It's a little bit ridiculous to blame Americans for the fact that people in foreign countries are trying to ship illegal drugs into our country and they're committing violence against each other.
Back in the gun store,
Why would someone own a semi-automatic weapon like this? I mean, is saying it's my right, is that enough?
Yeah, I believe it is. Yes, I believe it is. It's what sets us apart.
Remember Jimmy Moore? He owns an AR-15.
I'm not a freak. I'm a registered nurse. I'm a responsible individual. I'm a law-abiding citizen. I've been one my entire life.
A nurse, an attorney, not the usual portrait of Second Amendment diehards. And the man who owns the Lock and Load gun shop, he's a cardiologist who moved here from New York. Are you kind of profiting on this fear right now?
I think we are. I don't know how rational it is.
Good afternoon, Lock and Load. In fact, it may not be rational at all. It might even be paranoid. But one thing is certain. Many gun owners believe this president is somehow out to curb their rights. And they're stocking up just in case.
But Sean, the president has said what he said about this issue. So is this a fear that's being deliberately stoked?
I don't know if it's a fear that's being deliberately stoked, but it is being stoked. There's no question about that. And perhaps leading that is the NRA. They have seen their membership go up significantly since Barack Obama was elected back in November. It is now standing at about 4 million. But is it paranoia or is there something real to it? Well, the NRA and its supporters say, look, there's definitely something real there. They say that Eric Holder has made comments that he would like to restrict guns, push for gun control. Secretary of State Clinton and a number of leading Democrats. The one person who isn't is Barack Obama. And he's basically distancing himself from that, saying, look, this is not a fight we want to get into right now.
Sean, thank you.
3 years, 20,000 more U.S. troops, but not to Iraq or Afghanistan. According to Pentagon officials, these men and women will be stationed inside of the U.S. Thousands of additional uniformed men and women set to be trained by 2011. They'll serve as a response to a possible mass terror attack or civil unrest following an economic collapse. So how concerned are Americans about this?
20,000 more troops here in the U.S.?
I have not heard any of that, actually, no. It's the first time I've heard of it.
Ben Friedman of the Cato Institute, a libertarian think tank, explained what this bombshell would mean for the U.S.
Is this just the beginning of this expansion of presidential authority, of military authority here in the U.S.?
I hope not. We've seen the expansion of the use of the military within the United States for some time. A lot of the concern with this story about these troops being used for domestic purposes was that they would engage in law enforcement, arresting people, detaining them. They can't do that.
But that hasn't stopped people from speculating.
It doesn't seem right to have the military guarding the interior of the country. It seems like a dangerous power grab.
I think that would be extremely unreasonable. Policing your own people sounds like we're in Afghanistan or something.
The Obama administration is considering setting up a special unit that will interrogate terrorism suspects. That's according to U.S. media reports. It's thought to be an attempt to distance the White House from controversial interrogation techniques used under the Bush administration. But the nature of the new methods remains unclear. Well, let's now talk to RT's Dina Gazowski, who's in Washington. So, Dina, tell us, what's this new interrogation unit all about? Is it new or just a rebranding?
Well, you know, unemployment rates are at record highs, so obviously the White House is trying to create more jobs, and this one is particularly unique. Now, a government official has said that the Obama administration is looking into creating a special unit of interrogators, which apparently will focus more on intelligence gathering than actually building up the cases for prosecution. Now, this is just at the beginning stages. It's only a recommendation right now, but it's really going to focus on intelligence. We're not yet sure which agencies are going to be involved. Experts do say that the Central Intelligence Agency and the FBI will have some kind of role, but I do want to point out that some sources say that this may be a way to actually strip the CIA of some of its power. It has come under fire recently from not disclosing certain information to the United States Congress to, in the past, kind of accepting questionable methods of interrogation. So it's going to be very interesting to see who has the power here, which agency, if not the CIA.
Of course, U.S. interrogation techniques have attracted controversy, and many experts say the Bush administration repeatedly used torture on terror suspects. So what kinds of interrogation methods are we talking about here?
Well, you're absolutely right. I mean, just when we thought that this debate of torture and what constituted had subsided, here it comes to the forefront once again. But officials do say that this interrogation unit would comply with Barack Obama's decision to ban enhanced interrogation techniques such as waterboarding, which many people label as torture. This is really going to be all about intelligence gathering, really trying to psychologically influence the terror suspect, the person in question. Now, another decision that Barack Obama, of course, made when he entered that White House was closing down Guantanamo Bay. I want to point out that this week actually marks the halfway point to that deadline of January 2010, but experts say that it's unlikely to happen because what we have here is a real reluctance on the part of U.S. allies to kind of accept these detainees into their own countries. Even the U.S. Congress is quite wary. They're waiting to have a relocation plan from the White House that they have yet to see. So perhaps the Obama administration is hoping that maybe this special interrogation unit would help with meeting that deadline as well.
All right, Dina Gazowski, let's leave it there for the moment. Dina Gazowski from Washington, D.C.